3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. I'm going live. Apparently, I'm live and I'm on my YouTube channel, and I'd like to welcome you. I'm Karen Ann Lucyk MacDonald, and I'm beaming to you out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is also we recognize as our Octorian and Bear Clan and motherland. And also, we have the local tribes here on the Cree Nahiawak areas here on the reserves. So I wanted to discuss a little bit today and see how my YouTube is going. And I'm gonna move the camera here a little bit in juxtaposition, and I'm having some fun. I'm on the road and living out of a suitcase again. It's so much fun, but I do have a trailer and it is actually camped. So I have a camp set up north of here by my dear little springs, and actually on my mother's land where my great babas had their domens, right? So the actual, literally it's caving in, but it's a fun place to go to up here. Kreider was actually where my great grandparents founded it. But on to better things. So I'm going back to the land and doing some natural and exciting law and getting back to, original customs, usages, and laws. And that comes with, the right to enjoy, to breathe, to be on the land, to enjoy what we have around us without anyone trying to make encumbrances and do acts of war, treason, high treason, or crimes against humanity to the people around here. So I was having one of my wonderful conversations, and I want to introduce you to one of my dear friends. And she's over in California. And I'm going to move the camera here shortly, you guys. So we're going to talk a little bit about health, keeping mentally on top of it. We're going to talk about everything. I want to talk about the new things that I wasn't allowed to say because they banned me on Facebook and banned me on YouTube. And of course, if you haven't seen my 50 videos at Project Incension, please do that. I'll put the links down below. But more recently, I've been with Judge Dr. Alfred Weber, and he's at a site called News Inside Out, because we can't actually type that or the algorithm will go. And oh, Stephen, great. Nice to see you again. So we actually have people in the audience. It's great. I'm just learning my YouTube's actually functioning. So thank you, Stephen. It's great to see you. So we would like to invite people to Dr. Alfred's site and Dr. Weber. So I've done actually about 6 videos this year there, but more importantly, in the last month, it's just amazing because what's happened is that at News Inside Out, I was with actually Gene the Decoder, the famous Navy insider and intelligence guy, giving us all the stuff about the child, #SaveTheChildren rescues. We've got PowerPoints. So wherever you're living basically on the planet, we can tell you what's going on and give you some information. We're going to talk to you a little bit about getting health and what you can do. Now, because of the infringements on everyone's, rights here, in 118 countries, we are now doing an international template that you have to contact Judge Dr. Alfred Weber out of Vancouver directly. So I'm going to leave the sites there. One is called peaceinspace.org. And the other one that he has is Exopolitics. So please take a look at that. We've got a quick little video just to bring you up to date. We want to deal with this Agenda 21 and the Event 201 and bring you up to date. But anyone that has gone into stores or their schools or forced children to have masking, things like that with all the nanofiber, we're going to talk a little bit of what it's going on. The 5G towers, they may be being rekeyed, but in the interim, we've got some amazing problems going on. So what you can do, proclamations I've made, and let's get going. So I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. So I'm going to turn it over to here. We're almost there. Let's knock everything out too far. We can. Okay, you want to wave to the audience there? How are you?
Great, Karen. How you doing?
Oh, I'm pretty excited. So do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and how we hang out and what we do?
Sure. My name's Deedee, and Karen and I have a passion for well-being. I met Karen after listening to a number of her videos, teaching all of us about how to live in attunement with ourselves and nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I contacted you because I was super excited to see a soul sister in action.
Cool.
So so Karen, I'm deeply grateful for you being here in my world and being a great sister. You're a great sister to me and everyone that chooses to show up.
So if you feel excited later, I mean, we can always put a link in or something, or if you really want to come out of the underneath or above the radar, so to speak. But we've done lots of things, so let's just have a kind of a heart-to-heart chat here, and we'll maybe go just about half an hour. It doesn't have to be long, but why don't we talk about what's really on your mind right now? Because I'd love to hear it. We were talking about the stuff you were saying down the stores in California, and I know with what we're dealing up here in Saskatoon, and what we're trying to do is to get people to do these templates that we're setting up that people can go in. They've been drafted, but you do have to contact, Dr. Alfred Weber directly at peaceandspace.org, and his email is peace@peaceandspace.org. But we've done so many things, and I know you've seen some of the stuff I've done with Gene the Decoder. I've been with Dr. Dina Churchill, who does Genius Biofeedback. Actually, all of us do, actually. So if you haven't done that, I'd invite you to go to geniusbiofeedback.com and convert your phone or iPad into your own little Tesla, like, 5G anesthetist yourself. So the other thing we can do as well is go to Quantum Health Insight Apps with Ryan Williams. So we did that at News Inside Out. And then I met with actually one of my favorite mentors. I had such a blast. It was like a mental orgasm, was with Dr. Robert O. Young. I mean, he's amazing. He's a whole, education on yourself about the pH and his findings of how this is basically, as he was with Dr. Ross Anderson out of Kelowna. We had a great talk, the four of us, that it's radiation and 5G smart meter grid activated, and that there is no virus. It's a response. And in this case, the poison we're finding, previously it's been things like DDT, heavy metals, mercury, but in this case, a lot of glyphosate seems to be the predominant one.
And vaccines.
And the vaccines, because the vaccines were contaminated. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Carol, for joining us. I'm here with deedee, and we're having a talk. So we're getting a few people in here. I forgot I have over 1,000 people on my YouTube channel. Maybe it's time to get going. But anyway, so we did that. And then Gene the Decoder, I did some with former Sergeant Patty Brassard, and all to do with the 5G, the burning, what you can do. But these templates are ready to go, guys. So, and if you're in one of the 118, potential countries that are, violating your rights, and deedee, you want to talk a little bit about what's going on in California? You just said, what's your options? Like, you've been educating people, and you and I are not masking. It's like rape, and no one has the right to rape me or rape my chakras or rape my right to breathe. And yeah, you want to address that a little bit from your end? What do you feel? And I mean, we can get into everything, because you and I both, it's all about, hashtag save the children. We know about the adrenochrome, the DUMS, everything going down. And so let's go really down that rabbit hole as much as you want today.
So, first of all, Gavin Newsom recently came out and said, I can't mandate anything. I can only or inspire.
Yeah.
And basically what he was saying is that he doesn't want to be held legally responsible for mandating the state of California to shut down and to be required to wear masks, social distance, and have a radar gun pointed to our head, thermometer. Right. What he has done, though, he has enabled or has inspired or more forcefully coerced the health department to enforce mask wearing in our grocery stores or restaurants, or now here in our sidewalks, through their threat of shutting down businesses. So what it's done, it's become a citizens type of arrest that is not really, it's not legal, and it's not mandatable, other than the fact that they will enforce by shutting down your business, and then you'll be forced to have legal action, take legal action against them. And of course, lockdown has required a lot of businesses to not be able to make money. So something that is really important, I think, Karen, that you mentioned in the beginning, was Dr. Alfred Weber's opportunity to take control of this issue by gaining a class action lawsuit in his court to crimes against humanity, crimes against our amendment, our constitutional amendment rights, to task, because no one else is doing that. Right. We had AG Barr a few months ago threatened that anyone being too draconian in lockdown, they would look into them and it would enforce. A number of us have included Newsom. We've included as well as POTUS, AG Barr's staff, but nothing's been done. So it's been up to us citizens to stand up for our rights, to speak up for our rights, to demand to be able to walk freely, breathe freely, and to be able to maintain our which is to breathe free oxygen freely.
What a concept. What a concept. What a concept. You know, I want to address here, Stephen said it's great to hear you gain and blessings, and Carol Cassis is out of Toronto, and she said people are in my building that are wearing masks outside. I mean, that's the one that just blows me, where you see people actually, you know, walking down the street or in their car, and I mean, cutting themselves off from reality. I mean, there's one thing about virtual reality, there's another thing about just plain, you know, psychosis. The ability for people to compute, you know, the ability, and I know as a nurse, I mean, we don't even need them in the OR. So we've actually got studies that show you don't need the masks. They actually are 4 times more toxic wearing the mask, and that's in an operating room. And I know as a nurse too, we can address some of those things. You and I have both seen Del Bigtree. You know, he did the testing where they put the actually, you know, testing equipment underneath the mask. And I could show you one, but I decided I don't want to ever see a mask again, actually. Even as a nurse, I'm not going to use them. But we actually know that the testing, it was over 8,000 times more CO2 was building up to the point that the brain was being damaged. We were killing actual cells into the brain. And when they also have done the testing, the oxygen came from over 24% down to 17.4. Like, even for people that think they've got compromised immune systems, that's just bloody stupid. You know, and it didn't matter if it was the mask, it didn't matter what form it was, it didn't matter if it was a shield, and it didn't matter if it was a cloth bandana. They were all toxic. So I think you and I have seen enough stuff about knowing the damage, let alone we can talk about the testing. We know that the testing is false. We know, you and I, that it was based on cell lines. So because it was in the vaccines, you know, who's testing positive? Are the people that were vaccinated? Who are the people that are positive? The ones that are near high electrical things, near heavy metals, air pollution. We can talk all about that sort of stuff too. But again, what are your feelings on this? You've done a lot of stuff down that rabbit hole. You're one of the most knowledgeable women I know, you know, that you've really put yourself out there for months, you know, 24/7. You're out there on guard trying to help people. So it's not about protecting or being kind or making people feel more comfortable. It's about standing up and showing what the right thing to do is. So talk to me about that.
So I think the biggest thing has been for us to really look at and gather all the information from the experts. So, you know, we have a various vast expertise in our fields, but, you know, when we start looking at, you know, virology and understanding, you know, first of all, they've never even isolated COVID. So we start to understand that the testing is the PMRC testing, you know, the PCR testing, excuse me, is not meant to do what it's supposed to do. It's not meant to be an accurate description of what we think there is, because we don't even know what it is that we're thinking that we see. And so, as you described the toxicity levels, what we came to understand right away when I was in Europe up until April is we saw a direct correlation when we saw what was coming out of Wuhan and into Lombardy, Italy, and Spain. Was these were 5G rollout cities. So what was really reassuring about that for our initial understanding of what we were seeing is that Wuhan is a highly toxic environment.
Totally.
Lombardy, Italy, northern Italy is a highly toxic environment. Parts of Spain is and can be, as well as 5G enhances that toxicity. So these were the places that we saw this real escalation and non-well-being. So we actually, a number of us, including you, Karen, you know, we had this as a suspect of what we saw was a possible that was exasperating whatever it is, whatever toxicities we're dealing with. And we since then have had a scientist out of Barcelona, Spain, who came forward and he actually wrote a scientific paper on this, on providing the correlation between every location. There was a so-called epidemic or out of proportion of people getting sick and relation to 5G. We can correlate this with Kyle Seidel, the ER specialist out of Amherst Hospital. When he first came on the scene, I believe it was end of March, beginning of April. Right. And he said, I've never seen anything. This is not a virus. He says, I've never seen symptoms like this. It's like, you know, in the mountains. in the Himalayas and
Yeah.
had to have altitude sickness.
Correct.
They couldn't breathe. And those correlated with the videos we saw, the initial videos we saw coming out of China, where people were literally looking like fish out of water, just bobbing up and down, gasping for air. So, Karen, why don't you explain, what we know about 5G and what it does to the blood? Because this is what I think people don't really understand. And a number of Thomas Cowan, Dr. Cowan, Dr. Robert Young, and these scientists from Barcelona and others, they put these correlations to the test by understanding what it does to human physiology.
Yeah.
So, Karen, do you explain to us how the separation of hemoglobin and the oxygen?
Well, when we get it down to a very simple level, you don't have to be a nurse to do this. Like I said, and I'm unregistered, thanks God, not at all to them. And what happens is that I started, dealing with clients that had EMF or radiation illness back when I had my clinics here in Saskatoon, like way back in the, 2004, 2005, things like that. And I was very well aware of it, and when I had people that couldn't leave the room, again, I was seeing a change, the more you come to a grid. And now that I'm very cleaned out, detox, I'm EMF, again, sensitive. That's what I call having ESP, extrasensory perception. It doesn't mean that you're allergic to it, but it presents the same sort of thing. So one of my new friends on that we spend, I was just talking to you, I just actually text back and forth with him, is Mark Steele. And he did a excellent video there, a documentary with Sasha Stone, who I'm connected with the New Earth as well in Bali. And what happens, he also set up something called the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. So those are things that you can look for it on Sasha Stone's sites as well. But what happened is that they did a documentary called 5G Human Extinction. Prior to that, in talking with David Wolf at davidwolf.com, what had happened is Josh the Soul had set up a 5G accountability and awareness. And Josh the Soul was one of the first people to bring out the travesties of what was happening with the smart meter. So I started with the smart meter issue back in 2009, 2010 almost, because we were already having problems here. We were seeing changes in there. So the higher the grid goes, and what we know is that these towers are, again, they're a military array. They are not for cell phones. It's not a communications tower. It's done basically as a military weapon, and they are used for basically dispersal of crowds, really. And so it operates on a very small, what we call a millimeter wave. So it's like putting your head into a microwave, but because they don't go that far, they need to have many of them. So what they've been doing, and again, we know with everything from Agenda 21 to, hashtag Event 201, there's been nefarious things being planned with Huawei and all sorts of things that ties back into Wuhan. And actually some of the origins of this nefarious stuff is actually around Saskatoon, University of Saskatchewan, like the vaccine capitals coming in. We're seeing Winnipeg, Manitoba, that was actually doing a lot of the original unlawful stuff, violating all our laws of the land as clans and as tribes, and violating the international 6 peace treaties and galactic treaties that actually govern this planet and other parts. But they've been actually violating it for quite some time, because it started in Winnipeg before Fort Detrick and going to Wuhan. And I mean, by January, we already know with the 23 vials that, with Lieber, Attorney General William Barr, I mean, they were already starting to do the indictments and stuff. But back to the actual tower, if you think about this tower here, or this vase like being a tower, what it's doing is it's transmitting, again, microwaves, just like you. The more heavy metals you have in their system, the more you're blocked up, the less your energy is vibrating. So what it's doing is it's actually nuking you from the inside out. In that case, it's affecting your oxygen, because it likes to attach to hemoglobin and oxygen molecules. So that's why we were seeing a lot of people presenting with this breathing problem. And what was happening is they were going into like a bleed out, like a hemorrhage. It's called DIC. It's a disseminated intravascular coagulation. Okay, so again, there are multi-factors here. Again, vaccines, because what we know is that they could actually trigger what was called retroviruses. So how do you get a retrovirus? Through a vaccine. You're either injected, and this is what most people are missing. Vaccines are not for your immunity. They are to genetically modify and change you, but more directly is that your children. They're after the offspring. And so we can get into the whole human trafficking, MyLab, of what's going on with the children, the adrenochrome, and the breeding programs they have through these what's called MK Ultra things. And Stephen, you're saying the picture's a little bit better. I'm just going to get a sound check here, you know, if the sound's okay, because we're playing with, we did this off the cuff, so I don't, we're just sitting in, you know, at the couch here talking here. And so if someone could tell me that this was actually, the sound is audible or the audible is going here. But Carol's just saying too, they installed another high array at the end of our block and it blew the street light out. Again, I want you to look at, this is not just these big white towers. They're being put into every street light. They're LED blue light. And what the blue light, this is actually what I should be doing, is wearing my little Blu-ray blockers I usually wear. I look very studious. I feel very professorish or something. But these are Blu-ray blockers, which, you know, I am going to put on for a while because it's burning out the retina. And having said that, this is what they're trying to do when they're putting an actual, you know, I'm going to take your temperature, you know, and they want to take a 600 to 800 nanometer device that's an infrared going into your, again, third eye or pineal gland. We got enough people where it's calcified as well with, you know, can you imagine in Saskatoon with the fluoride, the chloride, and everything else they've got in there, the prescriptions, their vaccines, the heavy metals, the aluminum, whatever else is floating on top of the synchrotron leaking, you know, and the LHC and those sort of things going on. These people are so damaged. So when you actually put a far infrared too up here in your brain, which should be like a gamma ray or, you know, crown, some sort of a purple color, and you put a physical burn in there, it's like burning out, you know, putting a laser. You're actually using that. And so these people are not trained. And no one in their right mind, like as a nurse, you never put something at someone's eyes. Your third eye or brain pineal gland is just as sensitive, if not more, than the retinas from your eyes. So these people are like secretaries. I was just at Dr. Ed Mahan's in Saskatoon, and I am going to start listing and I'm going to start naming these people because, again, they can be put into lawsuits. Okay. And this is for crimes against humanity. I went in there. Someone untrained is going to start pointing a thing at my forehead like a gun. That's submission. And where was my mask? No, we don't mask. And you don't have to have a legal definition. You don't have to even have a medical exemption. We are the original peoples, especially even if they're RH positive or your clan or tribal. These people are creating, again, crimes are, that's an act of war to come against me. Okay, that's beyond just attempted murder and bodily assault. You cannot be forced to do something. The parents, in my estimation, are volunteering complying. And I don't know what kind of mother would actually prostitute her children to a system for a paycheck and turn her children over to a system that they could actually, through COVID, again, rules and regulations, not laws, but legalese, prostitute their children over to a system that is there to take them out. So we have no idea what's, you know, the ramifications are going to be. And if you don't stand up now, you're not going to have a chance coming in pretty soon. I mean, we can't just wait for all this. We know that these military array, and they're actually called a Gwen tower, by the way. It's a ground weapons energy network tower. So you start thinking how that tower out here and the smart meter and the lamppost goes to your smart meter. And if you don't have a smart meter shield, you can maybe kiss your ass goodbye like they did in what, California. You know how many people, 26,000 were taken out. Look at the fires around you right now. Look at the breathing conditions where you are. Do you want to address a little bit of that, Deedee?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the ways in which they're reclaiming land.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully what you had mentioned and Jean had mentioned is part of the cleaning up of the underground. So we think there may be a combination of that.
Yep.
I'd like Jean to confirm that for us.
Yep.
But definitely it's, you know, it's moving people out of their habitable areas and then moving them in the Agenda 2030 back into, you know, large cities.
Right.
So it has been a process that we've been under for an assault for, I think, 3 years now. And unfortunately, I live here in Europe, and it's happening in Europe as well at the same time, same place. So it is a perpetual, habitual rollout of their agenda, and it is to achieve the removal of persons.
Mm-hmm.
And when they are removed, then they no longer have the ability to build back where they were. So must be relocated. So we're relocating people without their will, and we're creating a, especially now with lockdown, having been through lockdown,
right,
we're creating a larger homeless society. We have a massive homeless society here in California.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the world, and it's gone unnoticed and untalked about, generally speaking, but it's evident. It's in your face. If you go to Los Angeles for any reason, any of our beach cities, into LA, it's in your face. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are not all mentally ill drug addict. There is a lot of that. There's a large percentage of people who went overboard with fentanyl, people who have, the methamphetamines.
Right.
But also people have been pushed out of their life due to this agenda.
Right.
So between the 5G and we saw New York as a rollout city that was more concentrated than we were here in California. Right. When I returned here in California in April from Europe, they were rolling out Crown Castle fiber, which is the building block for 5G. And that's owned by Bill Gates, or he has a large shareholder in Crown Castle. Mm-hmm. So I filmed that. I filmed them, and I asked them, "What are you doing? Unrolling Crown Castle fiber. What is it for? It's the faster internet and cellular." He goes, "No, 5G." So they have made a concentrated effort to roll this out to further increase this in our state. So we have fires. We have 5G now rolling out. We have this play that we're sick. Everyone's sick, and everyone's gonna make you sick. Right. We have a governor who has given $1 billion of our taxpayer dollars to China, which was I was told it was a Warren Buffett factory, who was partners of Bill Gates masks, which were detained by customs because they were not major quality. So we have a lot of issues here that are compounding this issue of this lockstep, Rockefeller lockstep agenda, which coincides with all the things, Karen, that you were discussing. It has all these pieces to it. From the MK Ultra mind control programming to the child trafficking to the organ harvesting to the trade for an arms trade running for facilitating. It has relocation of persons to concentrated areas to further control. It has population reduction. We have a sincere effort here taking place. California is very evident because of the amount of toxicity. We have nuclear waste being buried on our beaches here at San Onofre. We will soon have nuclear waste being buried on our beaches at Diablo Canyon and San Luis Obispo. We have so much contaminant waste from our militaries on all ends of our coastline. It's pretty clear that this agenda is for one thing and one thing only, to make this place inhospitable, uninhabitable, and a place that will only be utilized for the elite agenda, which is to basically reduce the human population through their this concerted effort. So I'd like to say one more thing too about the 5G that I found really interesting when I started getting deep with it, because one of the things that my people had continued to say in relation to the wireless, with all of the utilities going wireless, and then now 5G being rolled out, it disassociates the oxygen from the hemoglobin, which obviously, Karen, more than I do. How important oxygen is in cleansing our body. It goes through the blood and cleanses through the organs and picks stuff up, and it destroys things that are of not value or unhospitable, that shouldn't be in our bodies. And they're literally destroying the very mechanism of our body's ability to cleanse and heal itself. Correct. So not only have they polluted all of our land, they have polluted our water, fluoride, all the contaminants. They polluted our air through geoengineering, all the things that they're spraying, the heavy metals that you mentioned, which are really important in conjunction with the vaccines that get turned on or accentuated with 5G. But they've created this super, super toxic environment to where literally, interestingly enough, we can't breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
So the masks are just a symbol. To bring this full forward, the masks are just a symbol of what they have planned coming. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Because you can be breathing, but not actually getting any oxygen moving through you once they turn the system on. And that's what they showed us in Wuhan. That's what we experienced, unfortunately, with our residents in New York City, a high condensed 5 city. Correct. And that's what they're looking to do here in California, beyond the fires and beyond the economic downturn, beyond the continuous the increase in homeless and drug use due to these Draco Luciferian means of controlling the human population on the planet.
Yeah. You know, it's one of the things, it's really amazing because I'm just hearing what Carol's saying here out of Toronto is that Rocco Galati's got a high court lawsuit against Trudeau, Ford, and John Tory and stuff. And also part of it was to do with the vaccines. We are well aware of it. And I know you and I have posted many things to do with that. And it's partly because of the autistic parents, but it was going through as well. He's really a constitutional lawyer is his background up in Toronto for Canada. So that's being laid out, just like actually my second cousin is Sean Buckley, who happens to be the lawyer that's always dealing with constitutional issues to do with health, because he's formed the Natural Health Protection Association out of Kamloops, British Columbia, and Edmonton, Alberta. So we take on, and he takes on and tackles these things like True Hope and Empower Plus and Strauss heart drops and stuff like that. Now, recently as well, I see they're arresting, the things that, are helpful, like, MMS, and we talked to you and me a little bit. I got to speak, and I know I was excited when I got to see Dr. Robert O. Young, who is one of the world's leading authorities, definitely international leading authorities on live blood cell microscopy, and to do with different things too with the chlorine dioxide. Now, there are different things, just so we know, with Dr. Andre Clocker, and we were listening to Dr. Klinghardt and all these different people, but there are different forms of ways of doing it. However, I just noticed as well, they've just gone to arrest some people that, this Genesis church they were trying to set up, trying to distribute the Jim Humble MMS. Now, yeah, actually, I've got a bottle sitting down there too. We have several in this place. But anyway, again, I use it for water purification, and I really encourage people, if they do, it's all about the water. The solution to pollution is dilution, and that's what your solution is. It's your soul, and that's where the water that comes up that's unradiated is actually spring water. So it's totally different than groundwater, so it can't be contaminated. So do look at findaspring.com, and if you need a water thing, go talk to David Wolf. He's got a great thing on Rocky Mountain Springs. So having said this, I think that would be a viable solution. As we were talking with Alfred Weber, what's probably a great idea, because the hub of all this is people standing up and taking responsibility. And that's where, as a clan mother, we laid the proclamations. We've now done this, and this is what Trump and the alliance, a whole international alliance, he's like more of an ambassador than anything else right now. But we've seen the take over the International Monetary Fund. We have seen the 12 federal banks about to go down. We are hearing about the reset, whether we're talking about Nasera, Jacera, whatever. We're talking about also things like regen beds and holographic things. And you and I are both involved with Ryan Williams and Dr. Ariel Policano at a level of turning our phones and iPads and smartphone technology into a healing field. What Trump was talking about is taking these 5G arrays and towers and turning them in either to 432 or 528, putting them into more of a Tesla coil and putting
so
up
therapeutic. A therapeutic, he says.
Yes.
That's what he means by therapeutics.
Yeah. Just like he was talking to roll out the vaccine that, according to Gene, listening to him the other day, that the military is going to be the vaccine. And we were looking at.
I was so happy to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really neat too. And Copper Tropicals is in there, and they're saying, oh my gosh, it's great. It's finally to see people waking up, and I really appreciate your work. I get to play a lot, and they're saying the 432 hertz. So we're hearing a lot of this. I was listening to also Michael Jacko and stuff. He's got a great channel. He's 25 years in the SEALs, Navy SEALs and Special Forces, just like Gene is. And I spent a lot of time I've spent with the former Minister of Defense of Canada, Paul Hellyer. I've spent time with, all the people that were on the, Serious Disclosure Project, and Captain Randy Kramer, a lot of the super soldiers and stuff too. Again, we're looking in this stuff too, going into raising our vibration. Now, there are other ways rather than just to vibrate and send video tones or scalar wave, which is why I like using this kind of technology. And if you hadn't gone into that, again, the people that are not in that fourth chakra in their hearts. Again, the people in Wuhan are those acupuncture meridians are actually blocked. They have blocked up their spleen. They have blocked up their colon. They have blocked up their kidney. They have blocked up their conception, their governing vessel, and their liver and all the other gallbladder meridians. You have to do a lot of damage and violated a lot of like food codes and international law and inner law to have actually blocked off your fourth chakra. So these are the people I see that are actually also collapsing. And that's why doing something as simple as using carbon C60 or biochar or activated charcoal, something to bind up with that, bentonite clay, zeolite clay, some sort of clay.
I just do a simple cilantro, ginger, turmeric, apple, lime, or lemon. I juice that, and I drink that almost every day. And the cilantro pulls the heavy metals out, so it can be any of those things. And then if you don't have access to C60, because there's a lot of people who don't have access to it, and you can't get things like that sometimes in import, but they can make these things very simply from their garden, and they can detox on a daily basis to keep up with what's being bombarded at them.
And that's why I want to say there's level 1 would be carbon C60. Again, there's like lots of places out there. David Wolf's got it. There's a couple different places you can look that up. I mean, they've got it all over. But what I'm bringing to the forefront is that activated charcoal can be made out of the garden. It's called biochar. So, I mean, it's basically like have a fire, invite your friends over and keep the ashes off the biochar. It's activated charcoal. So even from a long time as nurses, we used to pack wounds like that. It's a natural antibiotic. Now, what the biochar, again, which is the carbon, which is what we see NaHCO3 is in baking soda, sodium bicarb. And it's really that carbon that's assisting in binding up and chelating the heavy metals and stuff too. So again, taking, a teaspoon of just baking soda every day and a little bit of Soleil salt. And like you said, go out there and have a little barbecue and have some fun. So these are some really simple things. I'm bringing to the forefront. This is another thing that really like burns my butt, so to speak. Okay. Have you been an integrative nurse for like 35 years, right? Yes, I was for 15 years in the hospital system at the Royal University Hospital. Yes, I was like over the, nursing union and the nursing advisory committee and neonatal nurses as a rep for 15 years. I know the crap that's in there. I know what it takes. I also know that these nurses, you have to make a choice at some point and not get led down the path. I was not going to be like, paid off by the mafia and the cartels and doing the who owns what and, right down to that level, being known. So I'm happy to say I'm unregistered, by the way. And
I think, Karen, that's a really good point you made, Karen, because Dr. Andrew Kaufman was talking about that today, or with his recent with David Icke, and past dialogues. He's asked, how is it to walk away? And you of all people understand what that is, and you have a story with that. And he was saying, look, you go through all this training, all these years of training, you become an expert in something, and then all of a sudden one day you realize you really know nothing, or what they taught you is not helping, but it's actually hurting people the more you become aware. And then he goes, it's become a choice, like you're saying. It becomes a choice where you have to just turn the other direction and do something that's actually holistic and makes sense for true healing. So I think that's a really good point you make, Karen, and I think that it's very valid to discuss that, because there's going to be a point where people are going to have to, in mass, start to stand up and say, no, we're not going to listen to our health department or our governors, or, masks are unhealthy, and nope, I'm not going to vaccinate because I know that it's actually damaging children because I've done too many of them. And nope, I'm not going to, what I'm saying? They're going to have to stand up and say, all the years of training, they're going to have to be humble and say, we were lied to. We're all experiencing we were lied to.
Yeah, and I think that's a valid point. Like back, I left in close to 2000, okay? So I was in there from like 1984 till about 2000, and from that point, I've kind of been almost like half and half, almost in there. Hopefully I've been on the other positive half here better. But what happens is that these people are not trained in health. You are brainwashed. You're like a computer, you're running a program, and that's not the only program. So not only did I take naturopathic, in here, I took a little bit of herbology. I took a little bit of aromatherapy. I took a little bit of massage. I took a little bit of reflexology, iridology, live blood cell, dark field, everything in there. Okay, but more important is being off the grid. And as a sovereign, I mean, I'm really blessed when, you know, the Secret Service or multi, you know, service you call the SSP came to me and said, "You're a clan mother. We need some help. We have children. We have this. We got the 12 things coming. Like, you know, we got a pole shift coming. We got all this stuff to deal with." And I'm like, okay. So I got briefs.
And Karen, let me have you talk about that really quick. Let me interrupt you because that's really important when we transition to these higher technologies like the Genius is doing for them now. But when we transition, you know, explain how important it is that you've made the transition, because you have to have way showers to show how you transition from one line of thinking ideology to the other, and how important it's going to be for you, persons like yourself who understand this, because we're going to enter a whole new field of healing technology or ways in which we're healing, right? So I think that's important for you because you're a way shower in understanding that there's paradigms of healing, and there's times and places for, you know, herbs, or there was a time and place for an aspirin if at the time when you were trained to give an aspirin. But we're going to move into something that's completely not even identifiable to what we're used to.
Yeah, I actually overstand in this sense here. But the thing too is it comes down to something. I call it the 10 code, whether you call it the 10 commandments or the maxims of law. One is you don't put anything between you and the creator. When you do that, you violate like law. Call it clan law, tribe law. It's ancestral. It's what my mothers came here and agreed to do, to be caretakers. You know, do no harm. Come here. It's like a potluck. We're supposed to be adding to the party. You know, it's like going to babysitter. You know, you come in with a potlatch, right? And that's called the giveaway. You know, when you learn a little bit about this. So do no harm is what it comes down to. And first it starts with you. You got to love yourself. And if you're not at that place, how are you going to, you can't protect anyone else. Oh my gosh, this whole thing, I'm doing this. I'm asking for kindness. I'm doing it for you. I mean, like some, you know, undated martyr or something, right? You know, like I said, going in and having a laser pointed at my third eye. I wanted to almost rip them out. I did. I said, "Do you realize what you're doing?" I said, "You're not even trained." I have done laser training. A friend of mine, Remy Velois, another colon hydrotherapist as well, who runs cold lasers here. And so I had to read all the manuals because I wanted to. But I also, you know, if I wanted to do training, I read all the manuals. You have to be, and I'm not saying certification, you need to be educated in these things. You know, even that, you don't put lasers into people's eyes. They've got to wear glasses. They got to do this. There can be rebound. There's all sorts of stuff. Reflective.
That's why OSHA covers mask wearing in the United States of America.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to wear a mask without OSHA coming in and deeming if it's appropriate or not, because they have to test to make sure that you're getting the proper amount of oxygen, or you're not capable of operating machinery.
That's correct. That's correct. And the other thing too is that, especially at a child, I cannot imagine women sticking, like, you know, again, infrared into their ears, into the temples, into the third eye, anything like that. Even the wrist is still connected at a heart chakra level. It's, you know, again, to the 432. Again, they're cutting you. They're cutting your soul. They're raping the soul. It's beyond psychic surgery and black magic. Okay, this is the kind of Luciferian things there. Carol's got a question about Patty. She said she's so out of touch, and she's referring to the former Sergeant Patty Broussard, who's acting as one of the head Micmac and tribal leaders for Earth Defense right now, who Deedee and I are both aware of it and spend some time with. But yes, we are all doing that. We're all around, still trying to help, still trying to do surveillance. We are aware. This is a bigger problem than most people think. You think they haven't come yet for people? We are both aware. They have come onto reserves recently, not that recently, like a couple days ago, like a couple months ago, like this year. That's not the first time. I'm not going to say who, when, and where, but we'll just say we've had it into several reserves that the actual NSA and government and cabal have actually come onto reserves. Men have been shot. Men have been stabbed, we were told. Children were being scooped up. Not only were they going after children under 13, they were also taking the women. Okay? And we are so grateful that the Galactics and the Special Forces have gone in and the military to stop this. This is not just Seattle and everything else. This is happening around you right now. And again, targeting, as always, is not about red and indigenous. It's about original peoples that have, again, things that they know that have been passed on. This is beyond the witch hunts and the inquisitions. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff I also deal with in the background. Now, in here, we need to preserve that. And this is why I'm very grateful. And I'm suggesting, even like Deedee and I are we're part of those 118 areas that are international, and all the countries and everything else, wherever you're living, doesn't matter. You can actually start getting the templates, but you have to be serious enough about it to watch a 68-minute video to give you the background that Dr. Alfred Judge Weber, who, by the way, is a tribunal judge for crimes against humanity. He's like the Nuremberg war crimes judge. And so he said, you know what, we need to educate some people, but you have to contact him at peaceinspace.org or Exopolitics. You have to get a hold of Alfred Laminant Weber to get the templates to start the drafting. This is going to be en masse, and I want to back this up here. I'm just going to just touch here for a second. I'm just reading here in the chat room. It says, yes, that's what I think of using holistic medicine. It's not just one thing. It's the understanding of your biology and using several technologies to heal yourself. Correct. I balked at the point of the temperature gun at your head the other day at the doctor's office. They freaked. So I'm not the only one going through this. She would not take my temperature on the wrist or the inner arm. Again, digital. What do we have to do? People have to carry their own digital thermometer. They're not entitled to any DNA. That's vital statistics. That's your DNA. That's information about you. That's like biohacking. They're trying to get you to, again, biohack. If you'll do it at this level. I was just watching something like with the handmaidens and like, tail, and again, the masking, the share law. When you know about the children that have been raped, in these dumbs and outside the dumbs and the human trafficking, they're usually masked. Also, again, I was thinking it in terms of Eastern medicine and chakras, right? Have you ever heard where they say in Asia or Chinese, they have no face? They've lost their soul.
They've lost face.
They lost their face. Your ability to communicate, Holy Communion.
And communicate. That's Hali in Hawaiian, the Hali, one without breath, one without connection to God.
Exactly. They've disconnected you from speaking. And again, they've muzzled you. If they can do this, what's the raping going to be on another level? I want you to take it to a child that's being raped and the abduction's going now. How do you identify the perpetrator?
Right.
Okay. And the facial recognition. Okay. So she was saying she wouldn't let them do it. I did it, but I asked the nurse to research it. Carol says, I'm taken to the road soon. Anyway, Jess has joined us too. She's in Victoria, Australia. Kids are not in school at the moment, but they're remote learning. And if and when they go back, the temperature checking each child on arrival. And Carol said she follows Jean. Jean is the decoder. You can look at Kristen W. He also does some at Blessed to Teach, but I really like the ones that we're doing right now. So Jean S is known as Co-Sensei 64, and he's a 25-year veteran on that. Where can I advise? Just wants to know, where can I advise my daughter to tell them where to take the test? I thought the wrist, but I'm not into doing things. Why are you using lasers? Like, seriously, do you know what infrared does? Like, laser guns and pointers. Okay, I know Stephen D. Kelly. That was the first thing they did because he was the one involved at, the Under the Getty and at Truth Cats and everything else. I did for years at Revolution with him, but I did lots of stuff 5, 8, 10 years ago on, again, laser and scalar weaponry, because he was the one that developed the laser sighting for the military. I don't know if you know that. And it's called Lasers and Cavers. It talked about the lasers and the caves or the cavers taking the children underneath for trafficking. But where's a great place to take the temp from? Why do we need to be taking it to start with? If you do, there's such a thing. And we're a little bit beyond the old mercury, because I know what mercury can do. I've hit enough on isolates over the years, but there is something called the digital. And there's something called under your armpit called an axilla. And you know what? Just the mom thing. Can't you just feel your fever? Can't you just feel? Don't you know? And again, if I took maybe extra a niacin flush, there are things that do it. There are people with thyroid. There are people outside. There are conditions. We're having ozone. We're having electrical magnetic disturbances. We have ozone holes now. So there are lots of things that could be affecting the temperature. That is none of their ability to interpret. So again, I really think these people should all be class, and it's happening up in Canada. I was at a recent event not too long ago, and I met with some of the owners of the Canadian Tire, and they are being sued right now, individually and collectively and severally. So go for it, because other people are. You're not the only one. We can go through this. You don't sue the company. You go for the people and the CEO running it. You run for the families running them. You have to list them individually. Okay, so these are some of the things too. Parents have to say no to this. It's required for them to enter school. Why are people going to prostitute their children? Do you not know? And I just put up today about the FEMA camps lined up in Canada and the States. You have no idea the massive stuff. We were talking about World War II and all the internment camps for the Japanese. We had them in Saskatchewan. We had them in BC. I lived in the entire Okanagan and in the Kootenays. And let me tell you, those can be, like I said, they're all ready to go. They really are here. So yeah, homeschooling is an idea to do remotely. And I just learned of a really cool thing. Mom said, do you realize like while you're actually making lunch, you're actually doing their, teaching them food, food preparation and food security while you're teaching them life skills. And again, things like that. So I really advise people, if they haven't read, is to get Anastasia, the Ringing Cedars of Russia. Again, we have to undoctor you and school people here, because the core curriculum is gone beyond insanity. What are some of your feelings on that, Deedee? I know you've got a lot. Share.
Where I was going to go to is with homeschooling. I think homeschooling is going to be one of the. It's very similar, parallel to what you said to me in the beginning of. Karen, the hospitals are shut down, so elderly can't get their normal hospice care. And he said, "Good on that, because the reality of it is they're killing them anyway, and
yep.
we need to change the paradigm
yep.
so that when someone goes and gets care, that they're not being harmed." I think the same for children. As a homeschool mother, I feel that homeschooling is one of the best things we can do for our children to give them a better opportunity to learn and grow in an environment that's safe and productive for them. These environments that they're creating, when you see these children in little tents, like in Thailand, and they're like 5 feet away, or in France, it is super unhealthy. And it's easy enough to gather a group of people and do a home of your own. You don't even have to go through your school system. Go through and make a private, a charter.
Yep.
Do your own thing, because we're actually finding that the school systems are indoctrinating them into following this agenda, to accepting and following this agenda. So they are actually being indoctrinated to believe that this is the way to go and what to do, and that you're supposed to say yes to whatever they ask. And we have no sovereignty in this current state of affair. And I have taught my children that they are fully sovereign beings and that they have full right. And if they're obviously within the law of the land, which is here in the United States, they have to drive on the right side of the road. They have to have a driver's license. But if they choose not to do that, then they choose not to drive. They could choose to bicycle or do some other means of transportation. So they have the choice. They're autonomous to make those choices, where our children are not given those opportunities. And to put them into the clutches of people who are currently with this sex education, the UN's sex education that we've been uncovering. It's disgusting. I can't even believe when I have mothers come to me and say, "Do you understand what they're teaching my children?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, I have no idea, because my children don't go through that same curriculum." And it's horrifying. So the thermometer to the head, the constant being in fear that they're infected or they're going to infect somebody with this whole, are you positive, are you negative? Do you have a star upon the R, or are you not or you have no star? This is a huge mind trip. This is a psychological programming, and it's time for us to unprogram, to deplug from the programming, and to take sovereignty, which is, Karen, something that you teach, that you stand for. Take sovereignty of our own, whatever we are, whatever we belong to, but we're not of that. We're not part of that Luciferian agenda. And that's where we have to take a stand. And parents, the last thing on that, people say, well, it's super difficult. I wouldn't know how to teach my child. And actually, it's not. You taught them how to get dressed. You taught them how to tie their shoes. You taught them their ABCs. You taught them how to chew gum. You taught them how to put it in the trash. It's just progressing from those moments to the next moment, to the next level of math, to reading. You probably already taught them at home if you're a great parent. It just keeps going. And when you need help, you have a friend or a neighbor, someone that you admire or you love, that says, "Hey, you're a great artist. The McMartin Preschool and the Finders, and this is actually true." They won't want to let their kids go to school anymore, because they won't want them to go into those environments.
Why would they?
The environment they're part of, and they experience firsthand directly, and they know it's a nurturing, enlivening experience.
The acquisitions and the servitude that people have done. I'm really sick of people saying, oh, I'm in here for service. No, you don't need any more servants. We need people to stand up and stand their grounds here, because we need to go in and get this going. One of the things you mentioned, like I was involved with the people when they were revamping a little bit. It was called Self-Design. It was at a Nelson. And again, they had 600 or 700, 800 children all around British Columbia that just checked in once a week just to see if they needed anything. Self-sufficiency, self-reliability, self-sustainability. Okay, so I've lived in a lot of these community things off the grid, and they did just well. Again, the law of the land is gift. Life is a gift here from our mother and Gaia, and that's also called, if you need to, like Bear Clan, it's called barter. That's really what being called to the bar is, not being a foreign agent registered to the crown that has violated their oath by committing treason, high treason, which they're prosecutable now by, military courts, martial law. And we need this kind of thing to bring things back into fruition here, because again, I'm seeing the amount of stuff that we're seeing with the vaccination, Monsanto, all these things have chemicalized the children to the point that they have actually switched their gender. We've never seen so much destruction. And again, it's not about the transsexual stuff and transgenderization. It's about being able to cut off that bloodline so they never reproduce again. You cut off their creativity to procreate. You cut off their conception vessel to move forward, to have a full expression of everything that they need to be. And that's one of the things that we need to go here, that we need to come back to grounding. That's why, I've got the camper up north. I've been running back and forth and assisting here, still nursing, feel like no mobile nurse on the crisis unit here, but we are having a crisis. And when I think about stuff too, this just brings to me right now about some of the things. I want to talk about the HCQ, because this is another thing that burns my things. I'm going to have a rant on this now too. If I hear one more thing and one more doctor and one more nurse, or even a naturopath, toting, or even some of the people, let's say on these government think shows, here at the White House, wherever it might be, Health Canada's, Saskatoon, health regions, one more damn uneducated do a harm for pharmaceutical pharma whores. It's called HCQ. So the hydrochloroquine is an artificial drug. And let's get to that. They all have side effects, every one of them. I've known people directly, many of my friends, because they used to travel internationally for possible malaria, to the point they had hallucinations and almost died. So it's not a safe thing. It's not a rare thing. I know people in my own circle that this has happened to. And so these are some of the things you need to look at. Just look at the side effects of it. What is actual natural quinine? Look it up. Do you know what's amazing? I know you know, because I've been typing it up. It's called cinchona bark. Cinchona bark is like Cincona. That's cinchona bark right there, you guys, for the audience. Cinchona bark, if you took the C away, like sank, sin, what if it was S to get your sine wave back? A sin. You violated and broke the laws of nature. Sin, the corona, the crown. Now that is a natural bark. It comes in powder. It comes in tincture. You can put it, however you want, tincture, powder, whatever. We can steam it. I can just chew on it like some, whatever, whatever, chew it like a piece of straw. It doesn't really matter. It's like, ginger root bark or whatever. Now, having said that, it's also called Jesuits bark. The Jesuit, the Vatican. It's like, oh my gosh, keep them away. It's also called China bark and Bavarian bark. I think that's very poignant in this day. This is what I call like a time travel thing. This is like a Baron Trump time travel or Stargate thing. Okay. That is what natural quinine is. Okay. You can boil up grapefruit. Yes, you can boil up the rinds of lemons. Yes, you can do all sorts of fun things, but it's not this. And that's all it does, is it's a cleanser that helps alkalize because the residual ash pH, just like you can take I take gin, tonic without the gin. Again, let's look what natural is. You've got all these experts on all these shows. I have yet to see anyone other than myself start talking about this too much. And to the point that we now, thank gosh, have got Dr. Robert O. Young on board with this. And I see he changed his thing on his last show with Carrie Cassidy at Camelot TV. Okay. So again, there are things in there, again, that produce an immune response, but that's actually what quinine is, if anyone thought to ever research it here. And again, we've got vaccine injuries, so we're going to talk a little bit about that too here. Artemisia, Carol wants to know, of course, they're all great stuff, anything like that. But again, we need to look at what is what. So again, if you've ever looked at something natural like salmiak, which is a mineral, a missing mineral, you know, an ammonium chloride instead of chlorine dioxide. But salmiak is a missing mineral. Most people have never had in their system for maybe many, many generations that kickstarts your immune system. We call it the anisotist to Agenda 21 because Agenda 21 is your 21st chromosome. It's your ability to self-repair. It's like your immortality gene, your longevity gene. And if it's turned off, i.e., delete that program thanks to the vaccines or, you know, 5G or fluoride in the water, again, you can't move on. You can't do that repair. You know, it's like having your own stem cells regenerate. So I think that's really, really important, you know, that you look at getting some of this stuff. And again, clean water, clean food, and a clean environment, getting smart meters on. Again, not just doing the bandage, but getting out in bare feet and getting out into the natural light. I want to talk a little bit about steaming. I want to talk about what you've been doing. You're a mom, you got 3 boys, but can you still make time to steam and look after yourself? What do we got here?
I can. You know, let me back 1 second if you don't mind.
Yep.
I love what you were just saying about the cleansing because I think a lot of people really don't understand the empowerment of taking control of our own health and well-being is to understand what we're dealing with. And what we're dealing with is, you know, viruses are not anything other than toxins. They're toxins.
Correct.
Something that's toxic. So what does our body do? It wants to toxin. Okay, it doesn't matter. Viruses is a fancy.
I'm so glad we have viruses. You know that there's something wrong. I embrace, become at one, embrace the virus.
Yeah. No, it's just a toxin. Okay. Yeah. So if we have this conversation, what I believe a lot of people other than Robert or Young was is not able to have the conversations because you're moving away from the paradigm that something's invaded you and therefore it requires some, you know, potent pharmaceutical to take care of it. But it's actually just the act of cleansing you and I have done for years in the raw vegan movement, the raw food movement. Mm-hmm. And when you empower people to understand that, then not only do we start doing those things for ourselves, so that's the bark, that's my cilantro juice, my celery juice, but it's also then starting to be aware and take ownership of our environment that we live in, right. to start to stand up again, like I said, to like move the waste being buried on our beaches, to you know, them geoengineering. Say, wait a minute here, we're not really dealing with some virus that's you know, some idea of something that's invading us. We're actually dealing with an accumulation of poisons, of toxins that have been building up our environment, and depending on where we are in the world, we're being bombarded and overloaded. And if we're not taking these, those of us who are taking these are making it through. We may not be totally like at the highest level, but we're making it through, where people who aren't are crashing and burning. And so if we have these real conversations, then people start to say, wait a minute, because I can actually start taking this bark, I can actually start, you know, quinine, I can start juicing, I can start having clean water, finding a spring, or at least doing the next best thing, going to a hydration place that provides you a vortex, clean, remineralized, you know, alkaline, you know, a healing water, and then we can say, let's take it to another level. That, you know, the government's now, we're going to stand up and say you can't pollute anymore, because this is coming in. It's going in hand with the whole climate change. You know, right. We just got done with Greta telling us we're going to die because we're into the environment, right? So what did they do? They turned that around because we weren't going for it. They said, oh, guess what? You're going to breathe all your own CO2, and you're going to be able. You're supposed to, you know, deal with that, because we're not going to deal with the reality of why we started this whole thing in the first place, which is because they are toxic. They are polluting our environment. They are creating toxicity in our environment, and it's too toxic. So that brings us back to Karen, you know, when you said, you know, do you have time? You know, we have to make time. Yeah. We have to make time for ourselves. We have to make time. We have to learn. First of all, you're the first person that I've ever learned about, you know, I mean, no one else has talked about that. I've heard about Tantra and how you take care of yourself and other things, but I have never heard that you can cleanse and you can cut cords, and you can do the things by taking a 15, 20 minute, 30 minute, you know, moment with yourself to help yourself. We have to. It's essential, because we're going to not make it if we get too toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on all levels. And if we don't take this time, no one else is going to do it for us. So it's a matter of learning what works, learning what's available to us, which is what you offer, and then to be able to actually implement that as a routine in our life. Otherwise, you can kiss your well-being goodbye, because they're going to be, continuing to pollute until we collectively say no.
Yeah, I think one of the things, I've looked at too, and I want to talk about it. Detoxing is like the whole idea of being taxed. There are no taxes. It doesn't matter. Drop the, the capital letter or the, the name fraud thing. But detax is like detoxing. If you get the concept of sovereignty, being wild, being savage, being noble again, having the ennobled elements. I mean, the whole alchemy, the thing that we're doing here, just like Sanso Spinaci talks. This is like a truth that we're trying to reinstall into people. And I want to acknowledge Ben Javis Jr. is in the room here, and he's a long time also ex-vet too that knew Patty Broussard and has done a lot to educate people too. We know about the whole thing too, and we know about cleaning ourselves too, that we need to talk about how to do these things. And again, it's not a thing of saying, oh, I have to be legally correct. No is no. When someone goes to rape you, no is no. Okay? About consent, it's you either are affirming it or not. You're either agreeing or not. But if you don't, it's like acquiescence, right? If it's like tacit consent. If you don't say no, and they don't get that word, give it a couple more times. It was no to the mask, no to this, no to the temperature, and no, I'm not going to fill out your COVID information. Your problem, not mine. And you are violating the original peace agreements to be on the land here of me, my mother's, and my ancestors. We allowed people to come over here to live in peace because it was a peace treaty. It wasn't a time of war. And right now we are at the end of World War III, basically, but we can revoke that, which we have. That's why we've called in, for the enforcers to do that, the international peacekeepers. And I'm glad that they're doing that. The water information is so important, as Jesse says here. Water takes information from the dielectric field, right? And a twisted people can infect others just by being toxic because it travels and retains information. Water, as you know, with Dr. Emoto and stuff, is consciousness, which is why I think it's really these kind of things, because we're going to talk about making remedies and water remedies, because I think I'm going to go to a water remedy here. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about these plates here that we can plug in and actually use a glass of water to be the remedy instead of a homeopathic. This does not cost money. Anyone that's got an iPad or iTablet or, my gosh, a phone, if we can't get past that. So we literally just plug this in and we're going to make our own remedies there. And so this is really, really amazing. Okay, you don't have to buy thousands of dollars of remedies anymore because they have 2 weeks free at geniusbiofeedback.com. And we are, again, electrical magnetic beings. When someone was dying on me, I went for the crash cart. We went to do the electrical, game, put the pads on and clear, right? And go to get them started because we're electrical magnetic. Again, they have no vibration, no wave. They're not holding the energy out of here. And so this is really, really important here. And those people that have children that are sick or injured, this is ultrasonic. In a very simplistic term, it's ultrasonic. Just like when we have an ultrasound, we get rid of, see what's in the baby. We see what's in MRIs, CAT scans, but ultrasounds are sonic waves, biophotonically can match whatever's inside. So if you hit the right frequency, like an opera singer hitting a high note, she can shatter glass. And we were doing it in the hospital. We were doing biofeedback. The pathetic thing is it was only used for basically kidney stones. We would use ultrasound to get rid of it. So if we get you vibrating, and again, this becomes a different electrical magnetic field, and you clear your field, just like electrical magnetic smudging. And again, this is not Wi-Fi dependent. This is the cool thing, is that you actually will not have viruses and bacteria acting up. As you can see, the color of my shirt today almost is actually about the color of what a normal aura should be. If you're cleaned out inside out, that's like plasma. That's like be a flamingo. So these are some of the things that we can go in here. And I want to, tell people just a little bit about biofeedback. And again, having been a nurse with the red roses of the royalty, with the 2 stripes about me, is not about health. Everything I learned about health came after. being a aromatherapist, being this, being conscious, being aware, being in touch with myself and the environment and mother. So Ryan Williams has got this, and it's at Insight Health Apps, or again, going into Dr. Ariel Policano's thing. Again, you put just your name and the birth date with you, or you mentioned you guys have got children here, you've got grandchildren, all sorts of things that need to be looked at. And what we're going to do is just get a voice imprint. So you can do it with or without the voice, and you can do it with or without a picture. So again, that's all we need to do. Once you get the birth information, you just hit the record button and you can just talk, or they can talk to you, or you can skip this whole thing, or just say the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U is a sound resonance like and so you're listening. This becomes like a microscope, and it gives me my actual hertz. This is my radio station. This is my tone. This is my, again, what I'm sounding like. And again, we can go in and then just play it back. And if you notice here, it's got a throw out. I have a communication. So when they block you, you cannot communicate with people on all chakras or all levels. Just like they say, you can talk till you're blue in the face. Well, you can't do it when those masks are filled with nanotechnology, viruses and bacteria embedded in there. That's what nanotech is. If you need to go, the fibers Dr. Young found when I asked him to look under the microscope, the electron microscopes, and verify what I had found, the patents. Everything I'm talking to you about, I've always found the patents for. Okay, and he verified that. So again, news inside out. And so what we're going to do is then take a picture and we can go there. So again, we need to, again, it's not about removing the water. You're actually resetting it up. So that was me yesterday. I'm taking another picture today. I think I look a little better. Thank gosh. Okay, so you take a picture of yourself, a selfie, or use an old one. Again, you can go past that. And again, you can see my energy throws out a pattern similar to iridology, similar to the colon hydrotherapy chart, similar to your. Okay, so again, you don't need a doctor. And I'm going to show you in less than like 2 minutes here how fast this is. And then we're going to go on to something like maybe steaming. So again, there we go. It's done. And within seconds, you can start seeing your aura, the minerals, the vitamins that you need. And then we're going to use what's called a drop tray. And you're just going to put in what you like. Okay. And maybe you just want to do your spine. Maybe you just want to give someone minerals and vitamins. Okay. So we're going to see what happens. And again, learning how to interpret auras is very simple. It's like all the external, what we call assemblage point, like a grid inside and out. Just look where the fence is broken. Okay. Not doing too bad today, hey? I've had better days, but that's okay. Okay. But you can see how much vibration is in there. You can see my root chakra is really grounded. You can see the blood is really being cleansed. All those things are higher vibration. Again, if it's all pink at the top, they can't come at you. It's like, catch me if you can. Okay. So let's say I just wanted to look at, and it says, oh, I need some herbs. I can look at the herbs that I need. I could either choose just to take this into my drop box. And again, there's a drop box. If you want to see it, you just put it in the drop box. You add what you like. And if you don't, let's say I just wanted to do herbology. I could just do here and do the herbology. Do I want to listen to it? Do I like Dr. Emoto's? I can. But more importantly, is I'm going to put a glass of water there, or put my enema water, or put my steam water, or do something there. Or put something like a homeopathic and drink it, or put that into my bath water. So again, we can do that. And if I wanted to look for corona, I could, or viruses, bacteria, or let's say we've got vaccine injured. I was one of the first ones to do vaccine recovery up here. You can. One of the ones I always love to look at, of course, is also traditional Chinese medicine, is to look at the actual acupuncture meridians here. And that's why we're steaming. That's why these people are dropping. That's why they're getting the disseminated intravascular coagulation. That's why they're dropping dead. I'm telling you, they were going to drop dead anyway. They've done it to themselves. All that did is it pushed them to the point to show that who was not living in accordance, because that Schulman wave isn't at 7.83. It's more like 783. So if you can't meet Mama's like earth heart pulse these days, and Mama's earth thing is at 432, someone at cancer or on prescriptions of drugs between the 40s and 50s under 60 hertz is not going to be making it anyway. Because right now, everyone that's dropping dead or harvesting right now is under 300 hertz. So we're trying to teach you to get at least 4, 5, 600, or at 7, 800, or how about 1500 hertz or 1600 hertz? How about to your 16th dimension or 16th chakra? Forget the 7. Let's double it. So, let's say I just wanted to go here and deal with my gallbladder. How simple is this? Just to use, let's say if I had gallstones setting up, I don't need to go to this doctor and get like ultrasound and get kidney stones. I can do it myself. And that's the coolest thing there. I love this. And I'm going to do one more thing here too. We will look, and again, you can send it to yourself. You can listen to it. And what I actually got here was, who's got earbuds? Notice I even got a matching. I just noticed I'm totally into match today. Must have been my interior decorating days. But you can put this on the other side of the glass of water, or you can get those really big kind of earmuff things, the white ones, and put it around your glass of water. You don't need to have the remedy plate. But I've got many people that are chiropractors now, and this is what they're doing. They're going in, let's say, to their spinal energy. Who's got low back pain? Who's got brain fog? Who's not connecting? And there's the replacement for the activator right there. So I think this is very cool. And it's called the Genius Biofeedback. It's an app you load down onto the phone, the iPad, or the iTablet. It's not for computer. It goes off grid. It's not Wi-Fi dependent. And so you can see here, I slept weird last night. It says my C2 is out. And I'm just going to show you here quickly, guys. Okay. This matches. I can do pathologies on it. We can make remedies. So you can see this as I go up. Blue just means it's low. Not a lot is going through there. Or red's going to be inflamed. Okay. There's the colon. Time to steam. What have you got some thoughts on, Deedee? I'm going to go warm up my steam pot here because I make time for myself. I will steam in front of you. I will steam in front of my friends. I don't care. We're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to do enema. I'm going to do a steam here, and I'm going to make a yoni pearl in front of you guys. What do you think?
I think it's a great thing, Karen. You do steam in front of us when we're having deep conversations.
I do.
Karen, what are you doing? She's like, I'm taking care of myself, which is important because we're always working and helping others, but we have to stand up and be helping ourselves. And so you're the queen of. Karen, are you steaming?
I'm going to move the camera around a bit here. I got to readjust here because we're going to see you and me. This is time you get to be in front of me. I'm going to be behind you this time. Okay. You didn't know that. You didn't pre-plan this, but I pre-planned this. So these are my thoughts. So actually the way it's positioned, you'll see it later on the way there, is that, yeah, there we go. Is that you're actually sitting in front of me. I'll be sitting behind you steaming. So I'm going to go actually just show people just how bloody easy this is. Okay. And, my gosh, if you can't figure this out, I know what the hell we're going to do to teach people. And again, like I said, you don't have to have the remedy plates in the water that we're going to do because I'm going to pump this into the water, drink it, and then that's going to become my remedy. You'll never have to buy another goddamn supplement in your life. This takes care of like the hospitals and all the supplement stores. Okay, so this is very, very cool. And then we'll talk about enemas. She wants to know if I'm doing an enema in front of us. They're laughing out loud. I have, but I can do it discreetly. I am a colon hydrotherapist. We'll talk about raindrop and everything else. But Deedee, you talk for a minute, and I'm going to go get my steam thing ready. So you talk about whatever you want right now.
Well, Karen, I think it's fascinating that I don't know if anybody else has ever mentioned this. I know that you taught David Wolf this healing technique, and it's not only just for women, but it's for men as well.
Yeah.
So it's I think very important that people understand that it can be as simple as whatever healing herbs they have accessible. Because again, you can be in places. Sometimes I'm in very remote places where there's not a lot of options, but you can pick your base ones. And I think Karen would be a good person to give those instructions as to what could be a base few, if that's what you had access to. Because Karen has a medicine cabinet and of herbs, and it's not easy to find everywhere. But the point, it doesn't matter what you have, as long as you have some of them and that you do it. It's again another way of taking care of yourself, just like magnesium baths or other things that people find that are healing, saunas to sweat. we like to do in Europe. We have a lot of one of the things I've learned from living a long time now in Europe is that they're very into water therapy. Water therapy. I've always heard David will talk about it. Karen talks about it, but I really haven't lived it until I lived in Europe, and it's an essential part of their life. And so steaming is an aspect of a water therapy. And they take it so seriously in Europe in some parts that you don't go to a springs, a thermos. You don't go to one out in the open generally. It's actually been developed and taken as a facility, a healing facility. So you go for that purpose, and for massage, for saunas, and so forth. So it's a very integrative process. But this is another step. This is another level that Karen does, and I was really receptivity, if you'd say. Yeah. But it's such an important receptivity because the base chakra is a very important chakra, and we really don't, or we're not trained or conscious to take care of ourselves in that way. And so it's a way to actually consciously take care of and heal any of those traumas that, and as Karen says, strings to anything rooted in the root chakra. So needs of parental connections, any sexual orientation or disorientations, anything is happening. So it's a very powerful tool, and so it's something that I think is going to take the world by storm when they finally realize how simple it is and what it entails. But I think that one of the things that Karen gave you with the genius, studying Rife and healing sound frequencies for as many years as I did, that was one of the reasons why I was attracted to Karen, because I had been a student of so many healers for the last 20-some years, and I really found that there was nothing that I could have my hands on, like a spooky 2 or some kind of a Rife technology. I have a couple of technologies, some from Russia, some from other places, but that was actually as comprehensive as those frequencies. I do healing tuning work. I like to study. I've been learning from Eileen McCusick, and I have many forks, and I have friends who are very prolific in sound healing, and I think that the comprehensive healings from sound to water to food are super important. That's been a basis of my life for the last 20-some years, is finding a balance in all the things that work and the times that they work. They're definitely it's a timing thing, and I think one of what Karen had mentioned, to use different tools for different things in different times, and I think that's really important. Being a raw vegan for your whole life doesn't work for everybody, but it can work for you at certain periods of time in your life, and it can work for certain people for longer periods than others. But they're tools, and when we know what they are and we know how to implement them, then we can use them. And so I find that consciously being made aware is something that helps us decide and figure out what tools work for us. And I don't know, Karen's never mentioned if it has anything to do with blood types or does it, Karen? Does it have to do with blood types?
Yep. Everything all say funny factors in. Yeah, your RH factor and
yeah. So we can actually start in a future development, maybe start putting together some roadmaps for people who, in terms of a blood type. Then, so maybe people have an easier understanding of the direction to take or what things to try first, because I think that's really important. Because I've, working with David Wolf for so many years and all the healers around David, you run the ocean, and I just didn't really notice much for that. But people, whereas he had mega enzymes and enzymes, and I loved taking those. Those felt really good, and I felt like I was really, moving my bowels and being and cleansing, and my flora was really in balance. So
cool.
It really kind of depends on what we're. Are you almost ready?
I'm ready. I know you can't see behind you, so all they see is you in front of me. I know you're looking at a blank screen because I'm no longer beside you. I'm behind you. But anyway, I've got a chair set up here, you guys, and This could be a plastic chair. In this case, I went to Canadian Tire. This is a $12.99 special. But what I did, I wanted a couple. So these are actually in it. Okay, so it could be a porta potty. It could be just a stool, a 3-leg, 4-leg, whatever. I've done, those plastic ones, or what I've done is the full chairs that you go to the actually to the beach with, right? And you just cut about a 7-inch hole here, 6 to 7, somewhere in that range. And you got the hole coming up. Now, underneath here, and I wanted to show you this, I got to get it wood, whatever. I went, no, you need to do it now. So, I mean, any lawn chair, my gosh, it's the end of the season, like, get over it. You can do it, or you can see there's a big pot here. Okay, so if you've ever cooked stew or soup, you could actually sit over it too. The idea is smudging. That's what you can do. So if you don't have a hot plate, just get something fairly large, fairly big, and then you can use this underneath as well here. But in this case, I like sitting on this a while. So you can see there's a little hot plate. It's a single burner. It can be an induction plate, whatever you like. I have about 6 cups of water in here. And right now we've been imprinting our water, right? So my thing is being scalar. It's switching the waves, and it's putting the oscillation of the scalar and PEMF into the water as we're talking right now. So I'm getting it in the room, but the water's getting it as well. So now I can drink it. And it's really cool because people that drink the water before and after can taste the difference. It's very slippery. You don't need the microhydrate from Dr. Patrick Flanagan, my gosh. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I can use this water in here. So again, that tea water could be also used to drink. It could also be used for an enema bag. So if you don't have a colon hydrotherapist like me to talk to as your friend, just go get one of these either hot water bottle bags or, this is like an IV. This is natural alchemy, not chemo, natural alchemy. So again, you can fill this up with about 4 or 5 cups, grease this up, and just slowly put it in the bum, about an inch or two, and just over 5 minutes, give yourself a nice herbal infusion. So that's another thing you can do. Right now I've got the water. You can see the water, you can see the herbs. And does it really matter what herbs you're doing? Not really. Okay, so you can use your compost. I use like lemon things. In here, I'm going to use some different pretty colored ones. There's calendula. You can use your flowers, marigold, roses, lavender, anything in the garden if it's clean. I use goji berries in this today. So you could put in dried berries, elderberries, any kind of things. Barks. So shikona bark can go in here. We can put in pine bark, birch bark, all sorts of things, just like shaga. And again, you can put in your flowers, berries, whatever. And you can also, if you've got a tea bag. So how many people have got tea bags? Don't tell me you don't. But anyway, and that's what you're going to do is basically you are going to come on here, okay, and you're normally naked, but that's what you're doing. And that's why they had kilts and tartans, I'm quite convinced now. And you would actually sit on this and it would vapor steam up. This was the original sweat lodge. Okay, so in here, again, that's what you're doing. Okay, just so you see, it does go through clothing. This is about cutting cords. This is about sexual abuse, ritual abuse. This was done for killing off the sensors for nanotechnology, implants of viruses, bacteria, fungus, candida, yeast, mold. Again, you don't even have to just sit on this. You could do this as a full body smudge. Now, how many times have I gone up to the reserves or someone wants to use, what have we got? Smudge sticks, right, Deedee? They want to use their, smudge and their wheatgrass and sweetgrass and all sorts of things. But the other thing you can do as well is just put a tea bag in. So that's also you can do is just drop a tea bag. But when it really gets going, just stand over it and let it vape up. Okay? If you've ever smudged, put your feet over it, do a full body herbal steam. And just coming up here, again, start breathing this up. It's not about masking. It's about getting and unmasking. Being comfortable with yourself. Being bare. Seeing yourself for who you truly are. Now, you can also put some essential oils in there. Who can we go to? Lisa Kelly, Red Tent Wellness. Nikki Garza, SteamyChick.com, Womb Sauna Institute, Yoni Institute. If you go to any of those and check the therapist, you got thousands. And one of the few people that can say vagina in I don't know how many languages, at least 20 now. Up here, the Cree call it punin. I always thought the one in more. Again, they're used to doing tobacco, sweetgrass, okay, cedarwood, that kind of thing. Again, you can actually, rather than, if you want to keep burning it, that's one thing you can burn. You can use incense. They used to use incense here too. This is actually how they fumigated. They used to burn the incense underneath for men and women and children, and I do animals. So this goes before the pyramid. So again, I could take some of that. This is grandfather sage. Stick it in too. Why not? It can steep for days like a Sunday, or just use it up. Now, I'm just going to show you some quick books. This is called PEMF, the Fifth Element Health. That's all your biofeedback stuff at a very simple level. If you need the in-depth level, I have Dr. Gerber's books here too. Yoni Steam. It's called a Resume. And don't think the doctors aren't doing it, because I know lots of doctors. I know doctors that actually run this, cardiovascular doctors in Santa Monica in California. Tecum Spa, run by doctors for also doctors. This is being done. It goes right into the hemorrhoidal vein. You don't have to eat it and break it down. You don't have to have liver and gallstones. It goes directly into the blood system within minutes. And again, it's the essence of sound. You're doing a steam reflexology, steam chiropractic. This is great for hormones, pain, brain fog, ancestral memory. If you want to start having better dreams, again, you're awakening the Tao within. You're awakening the Kundalini. You, if you've been abducted or mylabbed or traumatized or targeted, this steam going up allows you to almost be like a tree, look like a tree. You're outside the frequency of a reptilian draconian type of attack. Okay? And so simple things like doing baking soda. Okay? When people are acidic, a teaspoon a day of baking soda with or without maybe lemon juice or whatever. You can look up the cancer cure. I'll put baking soda in here. I'll use essential oils and I'll use hydrosols. Again, you should be somewhat intelligent enough now, if you're on my channels, to have your own litmus paper. So again, normal, what chakra do you want to live in is up here. So get the litmus paper. You can also make this alkaline water. Again, you're infusing everything in. And again, what you're dealing with the steam is the emotional release. The emotional release, people. Every oil, every herb can deal with every emotion, from anger to abuse to addiction, releasing the cellular memory, releasing the things that have been locked in there dormantly. So again, whether it's for pain relief, this is a great thing to start loosening up the muscles. This is stuff that they use a lot for going in and doing this. When you want to begin, we have very simple things here, very simple guides to do with even the genius or the biofeedback. And again, getting the pH in here. If you need help, there are people out there. You've got people like Marcus Rothkrantz, David Wolf, all sorts of people. Do your own exploration, all sorts of things. You don't have to have necessarily big amethyst crystal beds like at the Biomat e-store, but they're fun. But it's about going back and renaturing. How much more natural can you get than having Gaia release to the heavens? And maybe this is really our star chamber in here, okay? This is where you need to look at, where do we begin and where do we start? This is something very simple that children can do, you know, in here. Again, there's so many things on vibrational medicine. Steam is probably the most overlooked and best thing that's ever been done since before the pyramids. They still do this in the Amazon. This is the internal sweat lodge. You'd be kicked out of the sister lodge, by the way, if you didn't steam with all your women and girlfriends after a month having the babies. And again, there are so many things. This is about coming back into a state of grace, inside and out. And again, what you're doing is you're putting that, you know, you're eating for beauty, you're steaming for beauty. Some of the things too, like with what David Wolf has got, when you learn about the photography and Kirlian photography, I want to look like that inside and out. And that's what our machines are able to determine. And I'm going to show you one more thing as we're doing the steam thing. I love it here. I'm getting my steam in. Like I said, I make time. If you don't make time for yourself, no one is going to. And other than I'm going to show you one or two more things, or if anyone has any questions, I'm going to also talk a little bit about ear candling here. These are ear candles or ear cones that can be done from the belly button to draw energy out, not just the ears, but they can put there. So you can look at that as well. And I don't know, what do you want to talk about, Deedee? Deedee, we're going to make a yoni pearl in about 2 seconds. So think of something we should talk about.
Oh, you're cute, Karen.
Thanks. I love you too.
You know, one of the things I'd love to bring up is you know, is that this is again great conversations to be having, because we hear a lot of the information that we have to hear about what's going on and what's not right, but we don't do enough talking about solutions, and that's one of the things that I really appreciated in this journey, is learning what can we do, what's going on, and what can we do, and you know, like. You don't have to take supplements. Or I love Vashiva, you know, said, hey, take your vitamin A, take your vitamin D, you know what I mean? And you know, help your thyroid stay in balance, and you know, you're gonna make it through this. And I'm just like, super simple. The things that our current paradigm doesn't want us to know about. And so it's really important that we continue the journey of unfolding all of these beautiful you know, therapeutics, as POTUS said, because these are where we're going to be getting going. This is what's going to get us where we're going. And you know, I think something that you and I both know that a lot of people are maybe not doing, but you know, as best as possible, is eating out of your own garden. That's a huge thing, is to eat out of your own garden, and it takes a lot of time and energy, yes, but it's highly rewarding. And if you learn to care for your soils, which is again another challenge with our current geoengineering and water issues. If you do, we can have more bioavailable nutrient foods that we don't have from our even organics. So that is something I think really huge. That again, we don't. You know, I know Dr. Zach Bush talks about that. David Wolf's talked about that forever. There are a few who actually make that a priority in their teachings on how to live more fully. But I think that's something that we got to keep repeating, because we're coming into a place in time where we've been so reliant on other people to make foods for us that are not healthy. And that's compounding the toxicity within us, which is why we have to do all these things, because we are super toxic. I find personally that I'm less toxic in Europe than I am here in California. When I'm in Europe, I eat more healthily. The foods that are given to me digest better. I feel better. I have more energy. It's not a perfect environment, but you know, they do still have a relationship with their land, where I eat and the people I eat with, and it's not what I have here. So you know, Karen, how important it is with having a relationship with your land and respect for the earth, and that's again something we've moved so far away from. That again, Paris Climate Accord change, this whole COVID idea. Is not addressing really the fundamental issues of caring for ourselves in this planet. And so eating out of the garden is, when we all become aware of that, then we all become aware of when our plant's not growing. And then we become aware of what's going on. And I think that's huge.
I think that's right now coming into it. So when we haven't fed ourselves, it's kind of like you haven't fed yourselves like your entire life properly. We need to go into what's called rotorotarine, which is root chakra. So again, we've got, like I said, we've got enemas colonics, we've got the steam chair there. And again, that's really non-invasive. It's very meditative and very simple. There's no cost to that. You know, what's a tea bag? You know, it's no big deal. What I want to do is show you, you can actually get these yoni pearls or vaginal womb detox pearls, and they're online, but they are seriously probably about, I would guess somewhere about $10 each. So I'm going to show you the do-it-yourself version. Okay, I feel like Vanna White, or thank gosh, not Martha Stewart, but you just simply I got cheesecloth. You can get this online if you want, or some muslin or something, again, unbleached, something healthy. So just kind of some really nice fabric, actually. This is almost so soft. This is almost, get it soft. And pre-wash it first. That's my other thing here. So we just get a 4x4, something like that. I'm going to make a couple different ones. So if I was really stuck, which I have done in a couple times, is I just had a tea bag here, and I simply just put it into the tea bag, and then you turn it like this. So you're going to actually twist it. It's like twisting by the pool, and it's like making a little ghost or something, but you tie it up. You can cut off the tail if you want and leave a string. So what you do is you grease this up and you put it up into the vagina for 3 days. This is what they did for parasite cleansing for 3 months. So every 3 days, you would put a new one of these in to be fully absorbed into the root chakra, into the capillaries, into the rich blood supply. And the root chakra, again, that's the heaviest, densest, right? So you're getting the blood, and then what it does is it starts cleansing. So this is the easiest way to do blood cleansing, okay? Cancer, diabetes, depression, it's clean the blood. So we can use the biofeedback, use the water, but also this. So put some coconut oil in it, and away you go. Okay, so this is very simple. Womb, yoni, or detox pearls. Again, you don't steam, and you don't put this up when you're menstruating. It's kind of common sense, but some people don't have a look it up, study it. There's YouTube, there's images. You want to see what comes out of women, see how they get rid of tumors, cancers, and fibroids. If you were constantly pulling, again, a detox, I could put in activated charcoal in here, zeolite, bentonite, or baking soda and start pulling it out. So I think this is so cool. And it's so great because Britain's now saying here, basically they're not on any other social media except they're on my YouTube. Oh, that's pretty cool. So what are my thoughts on Rife versus Scalar? We'll go into that. But again, minerals could be in here. You might want to put a piece of salt. I don't care. The only thing you're not going to stick in there would be what? Something really hot and like cayenne pepper up your, still good. But anyway. No, I've known people to do silly things like that, but that's okay. I have actually taken my tea or my herbs in here and also putting in a couple drops of essential oil, like frankincense, myrrh, whatever. Again, that's what we have a genius for. I could also put this onto the plate and imprint everything, so I wouldn't have to buy anything. I could just actually put it in there. So that's another one thing we can do. Again, let's do another one. So again, all I have to do here is, again, it's almost like doing cleanups. It's almost like origami. It's a vaginal origami. Hey.
Karen, sometimes I think something even as simple as a lavender and rose.
Yep.
Lavender and rose is such a phenomenally relaxing and healing.
Yep. And there it is.
I think that's something that is very powerful as well.
Yeah, you just talked about it. And actually there it is. There's the lavender rose. So again, It can be a tea bag. It could be, again, you don't have to buy them, but here's an organic blend with basil, calendula, oregano, yarrow, and lemon balm, otherwise known as Melissa. Okay, so you can buy these yoni steams or pearls or anything ahead of time. Normally, I like to grind it up fine, like as fine as you can, because you don't want, some twiggies and stuff. Again, they can be the size of a little peanut, right up to the size of a grapefruit. So the ones that you see are really compressed. They come out of Russia, China, and stuff like that. Again, you make your little string, leave something hanging, and again, it goes up. So every 3 days, you're replacing this, okay, except when you're menstruating. So again, it's a pretty simple thing that we can do. So otherwise, we do what's called aromatherapy suppositories. So I wanted to bring that there. So I'm just going to check here too. So what are our thoughts on Rife versus Scalar for healing? Well, that's a great question. We have different things out there. We've got wearable things like PEMF and LED things, all sorts of things I can do from the same place that has the Genius, at Genius Biofeedback, or Quantum Health Insight apps. However, we do have a separate Rife app, but why? Because most separate Rife apps are probably anywhere from a couple hundred to several thousand, depending on the scalar wave technology. Most therapists will have you send your information or your picture, and then they charge you a couple $100 just to run the same code. We can do the same thing, but we don't want to. Because right now in here, every category that you have, every hormone, and I would say conservatively, because we make our own libraries in here, I would say we have a base of about 60, 70,000 things that you would have in everything in a health store, and more is in here. And so every frequency could be given to you. So the frequency of the lavender, the frequency of the rose, 320 hertz, you're not limited to just base solfeggio tones. You have an unlimited amount. And that's why this is operating. It's operating on a scalar wave through the pulsed energetic, magnetic, electrical thing. So Royal Rife is like a beginning thing, like Calder Clark, like making the old, zappers. The old zappers. This is a whole another generation. And the thing is, it can run off grid. So it's not dependent on the Wi-Fi. So I can run it with a little solar cell, actually. And again, that's the huge difference on that. So I hope that answered your question on that. And again, it does have rife. This is rife, but it's customized. You know, so if I wanted to go into the very back here, I can. There's a whole progressive insight, and we actually do have a rife built into even this, into the Genius. So I can go into the back here and actually type in the actual word like diabetes, and it will give you all the rife codes for it. Or you can just hit load all, and it will scan and provide you the customized one. So this is customized. So it takes it to a whole different level. And as you can see, it's 1 or 2 buttons. It's like, seriously, I have children that sit down with me and do this, an 80-year-old. So again, that's all you need to do. You know, so I might just want to do a remedy. Let's say if you just feel like emotional healing, maybe you just want to go into our Bach flowers, you know, and just hit your Bach flower, just do your Bach flower healing. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You could just balance all the Bach flowers. You could just balance your spine. You could just balance a herbal session. You know, so this is unlimited to what you can do. And so I made, for example, I put little ticks on here. So when they decided to make genetically modified mosquitoes and ticks, which they have, they make it, I can reverse engineer it. So anything they can, you know, artificially clone, I can break apart at the sound or the molecular at the frequency level and make it what's called 0 point. I can neutralize it. Okay, you're not killing anything, you're neutralizing it. You know, so it is about bringing things back to a point where it could be recreated again. So I think that's a really, really important thing, because you have a whole sacred geometry section here, or solfeggio tones. So I'm not stuck to like, you know, 8 or 9 tones. I have unlimited amount I can put in here. So I need to basically put back that sacred circle around you, and that's what this does. And so if you want to look for infections, and you want to look for the corona, and you want to look for Epstein-Barr, and you want to look for all those things, or the vaccines that they've put into us and injured, yes, we can identify it, and yes, we can do it. You can also go into counseling. And do I have a referral for the Genius app? Me. I don't know who else can we refer, JD. I have a link if you'd like. You can get a hold of me at clanmother13@gmail. Get a hold of my Facebook, or just go directly to geniusbiofeedback.com. They've got a download there, you know. And again, this is going to be untrusted. I want you to learn something. Trust accounts are about, you know, screwing you over for money. It's like the word, I can say it now, fuck. Fuck is actually, did you see my Facebook? It's actually came from when you wanted to sleep and, you know, get the king's permission, like the first night's right, you know, before they, you know, screw you, like the Illuminati imprinting, like you're targeting the chattel and stuff. Fuck was a word that literally, it was an acronym that meant for fornication under the king. Okay. And that's what it meant. That was the term, to be a motherfucker, when they took all the women from the clan and stuff. So that's where the terms actually come, or the old hag was the hag court, the women that still had class and grace, by the way, first class. So in here, just bringing that back into here, again, you might want to look at spiritual protection. I made libraries, and so I took all their little ticks and I put them in here, and now I can reverse Lymes or Morgellons, or I could put, you know, something in there that's an irritant, like, you know, an allergy, and we can try redoing that. But as you can see, Shakona bark comes up really high, so I'm glad I was sucking on that. But I can actually go for all those things like David Wolf's products I put in here. A lot of people need to know about ozone O3. Again, simple things like that. Peruvian bark, having Genius biofeedback sessions with me. The other one is Ryan Williams. Take a look at his site. He's the developer. He was like part of the army. This is military secret space, free energy, Trump stuff you wanted. He's the one that developed this at Genius Health Insight Apps. And then we just did a show. So go to News Inside Out, see where we've been doing stuff. And then you can see all this stuff. It can actually make suggestions for you. So this is our library, because let's say I don't know what to do, or there's a past life thing. It will tell you, these are the things like some barberry or what I need to do. So I actually could just do that and say, well, I need to calm my digestive system at 230 hertz, or I might have to do 3000 hertz just to get the coronavirus or corona out, or aloe vera. So the other thing is there might be something from a past life. Maybe it's something you haven't moved into the timeline. So this allows you to do what's called time travel or interdimensional traveling. So this is getting into your secret sacred space travel. So there we go. clanmother13@gmail. That's it with a K. That's right. And again, you can do that or get a hold of me. Anything you want to add, Deedee? It's been very fun. I told you we could do this.
Yeah. I think it's really important that to further answer her question. I use quantum wave cold laser scalar technology. It's a small handheld device, and it's super powerful for on spot locations. So if
I have one.
You hit your knee, or you've got stomach ache, you can just set it on there and work with all the different scalar wave codes that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I think is so amazing about the Genius is that you don't necessarily know why you have that pain if you didn't know yourself. So the BioGenius, the feedback gives you the understanding of what you're looking at, like what's actually causing an issue. So I think that's really important. There's lots of beautiful technologies, and you can use, a cold scalar wave laser, which will work, but you may not get a full understanding of what it is, you're dealing with when it's something just beyond superficially bumping yourself or getting, physically injured. And so the Genius actually lets you see where you're imbalanced and how you're imbalanced. And I think that's really huge for like brainiacs like Karen and I. We want to know what's going on. Like, what's happening?
And fix it. There's no point just saying this is a sound, because just playing the same thing over and over like a solfeggio tone or binaural beat or hemisync or whole sync. Why do I want to listen to the same record all the time? Because I'm dynamic, I'm changing all the time. And so the Genius upgrades and changes with you. So there's a 2-week thing for free. You're going to have to go into your device management because it's going to say untrusted, as I said, which is great. So you have to go into your device management, go into general, like General of the Army, and you're going to look at the device management, and you're going to bypass the Apple Store to get it for free. So we want you to do that. So we're teaching you how to get the codes. And so you'll say 828 Canada, and then you can trust it there. So that's one of the things that we have for you for 2 weeks for free. And then there's a monthly subscription for under $100. And then they have packages, everything from be a couch potato with it to just doing yourself to becoming a level 1, level 2 therapist, or if you want to add it into what you're doing, or you want to go full on board. These are naturopathic, energetic, virtual things that we can do from a distance, run by Dr. Ariel Policano. So again, this is really, really, really cool. So this is pretty excited. And again, some people have been with other ones like AIM, Sanctuary. I had a $30,000, $40,000, Genius to go and all those sort of things. And again, very, very different because again, you're stuck with what they're just doing. You've got one session they're just running or running for that time period, which you're paying for. And for less than getting this device, which by the way is under $1,000 or $100 a month, you're getting it every day and you can put anyone, it's unlimited to what you can do. So that's my pitch for that. But I see my water starting to boil and what else we got in here? People are studying them up. Anything else? Do you want to give parting wisdom? We got 1 minute left here and then I got to go steam.
We'll close this off. Grateful that everyone's checking in and asking questions and wanting to find out what they can do to take care of themselves.
Yeah, I think that's really, really, again, important that you're making that difference. If you're on my Facebook, go to our Facebooks. Anything else you could suggest? I think that's it. I'm excited. I want to get this thing going with Alfred Weber. And I really am going to take this bull by the horn, so to speak. And I've had enough because I put proclamations in. They've been violating all these things since 2013. And again, this is it. It stops here. And I really feel if I can, assist in some way here, that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to live stream. I'm going to put some of these free links for you. Either one of them will do it. Take a look. And again, thank you so much, Deedee. And we're going to shut you guys off because I'm going to move back to my little stream chair back there because I just want to get hot and steamy. And again, you can stay on that for hours. I've been sitting with my friends here in the evening watching Cirque du Soleil and stuff while we've been going through this stuff. And literally, I've been steaming every night with my friends for 2-3 hours. We were noticing differences with people with Parkinson's and diabetes and weight issue and gangrene and mental and emotional thing. This is amazing. You can see it starting to percolate back there. I'm really getting fun onto it, but that's all you have to do. A chair, a stool, a commode, a porta potty, a fold chair. There just is no excuses to go to, vaginal steam chair and look at images. So anyway, I'm going to turn this off. Hopefully the stream will do there and we've touched a few people's lives and I'll figure out if we actually can upload it or not. Okay. Thanks, see you guys later. And I'm going to stay on here Deedee because I'm going to keep steaming and talking to her. So see you guys later. Ciao. Okay. Yep. Okay. Looks like it.